Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're rediving into Phibro Animal Health Corporation as proxy statement for their 2025 annual meeting. We're going to see where their money went, who is running the show, and if their execs are really earning their keep. Before we get started, make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss our deep dives. Also join our Discord community linked in the description below for more discussions like this. This document is basically an invitation to their meeting where shareholders vote on important company matters. Think of it as the annual check, in with the shareholders to ensure everyone's on the same page. The big day for this meeting is the 4th of November, 2025. The company is based in Teaneck, New Jersey. First up, they're voting to elect 3 directors to the board. These are the people who guide the company's big decisions. There is Jack C. Bentheim, who is not just a director, but also the chairman of the board, president, and chief executive officer. He has been with the company forever, since 1969. He even managed some family investment vehicle that holds a lot of the company's stock, giving him significant voting power. He is definitely a key figure. Then we have Alejandro Bernal, who recently became Chief Executive Officer of Wedgwood Pharmacy. Before that, he was in charge of Mars Veterinary Health International, overseeing over 600 veterinary hospitals and a diagnostics company. His experience in animal health is extensive. And E. Thomas Corcoran, who has a long history in the animal health industry, even heading up Fort Dodge Animal Health. He has also been a director since 2008. Next, this is the famous say on pay vote. Shareholders get to give an advisory thumbs up or thumbs down on how the top executives are paid. It is not binding, meaning the company doesn't have to change anything based on the vote, but it definitely sends a message. Here is where we see the juicy details. It explains the company's philosophy on paying its executives. They aim to attract and keep top talent with competitive pay, reward performance, and align executive interests with those of shareholders. Makes sense, right? Let's look at how the company did in the last fiscal year, ending the 30th of June 2025. Net sales were up a solid 27%, reaching about $1.3 billion. Net income jumped significantly, and earnings per S-share also saw a big increase. Adjusted EBITDA, which is a measure of profitability before interest, taxes, and other expenses, went up a huge 65%. So what did the execs get for these results? Base salaries saw some increases, particularly for Daniel M. Bentheim and Judith Weinstein, who got about a 20% and 17% raise, respectively, for their accomplishments and contributions, especially with a significant acquisition. The management incentive plan, which is a cash bonus based on performance, paid out really well. The NEOs, or named executive officers, earned about 137.3% of their target bonus amounts. On top of that, they got extra discretionary bonuses for their work on that big acquisition of assets from Zoetis. Interestingly, they did not grant any new equity awards in fiscal year 2025, which means no new stock options or restricted stock units. They mentioned they tend to use these sparingly, mainly for recruitment or retention in special cases. However, they did mention that after the fiscal year ended, they granted restricted stock units to the NEOs as a way to retain them and align their interests with the company as success over the next few years. Now for the big numbers, let's look at the total compensation for the top executives. For Jack C. Bentheim, his total compensation in 2025 was over $5.2 million. This includes his base salary, a bonus, and some other benefits. Compared to 2024, his pay went up by about $500,000. Glenn David, the Chief Financial Officer, his total compensation was over $1.2 million in 2025. That is a significant jump from 2024 when he joined mid-year. Larry L. Miller, the Chief Operating Officer, his total compensation was over $2.4 million in 2025. This includes a substantial long-term incentive award, which is a big chunk of his pay. Daniel M. Bentheim, the Executive Vice President, his total compensation was around $1.1 million in 2025. And Judith Weinstein, the Senior Vice President, General Counsel, and Corporate Secretary, her total compensation was just over $1 million in 2025. Looking at all other compensation, which covers things like retirement plan contributions and allowances, Jack C. Bentheim received quite a bit, including payments for legal, tax, and accounting services for him and his family, capped at $550,000. That is a pretty generous perk. Now, they also have to tell us the ratio of CEO pay to the median employee pay. For Phibro, the CEO's pay was about 95 times higher than the company S median employee S pay, which was around $55,854. This suggests a significant gap between the top leadership and the average worker S compensation. This section tries to show how executive pay lines up with how the company performed. When looking at the data, especially for Jack C. Bentheim, his compensation seems to follow the company's performance, particularly when we look at things like adjusted EBITDA. Now, let's talk about who owns the company. BFI Company, LLC is a major shareholder, and Jack C. Bentheim seems to have a lot of influence, with sole authority to vote the shares owned by BFI. This confirms he has significant control over the company, contributing almost 91% of the total voting power. This part details any deals between the company and its insiders like directors or major shareholders. They mention an agreement with BFI related to stock registration rights, which is pretty standard for major shareholders. They have a policy that any deals with related parties must be on terms as good as they would be with an unrelated party. This is meant to prevent unfair deals that benefit insiders at the expense of the company. This is the report from the Audit Committee, which oversees the company's financial reporting. They've reviewed the financial statements and met with the independent auditors, PricewaterhouseCoopers LLP. They confirm that PwC is independent and that the financial reporting seems to be in good order. Speaking of PwC, they billed Phibro nearly $5.2 million in 2025 for their services. Most of this was for audit fees, but a good chunk was for tax services. This leads us to Proposal 4, ratifying the choice of PwC as the company's auditor for the upcoming fiscal year. It is essentially asking shareholders to agree with the board's choice. This section is about how the company is run at a high level. Phibro is a controlled company because BFI, through Jack C. Bentheim, holds a majority of the voting power. This means they get some exemptions from standard stock exchange rules on board independence and committee composition, though they claim their independent directors meet the rules anyway. Jack C. Bentheim is both CEO and chairman. The board feels this structure is best for the company right now, especially given his deep involvement and control. So what is the story here? Phibro Animal Health had a really strong fiscal year 2025. Their sales and profits are up, and their executive team is being compensated well, with some significant bonuses and even grants of restricted stock units after the fiscal year ended, which is a way to keep key people around. They are also very transparent about their executive pay through these detailed tables and discussions. The company's financial performance is impressive, especially the growth in their animal health segment and the positive impact of the Zoetis acquisition. However, the significant control held by Jack C. Bentheim, coupled with his elevated compensation, and the perks he receives, does raise questions about governance and potential conflicts of interest, although they do have policies in place to manage related party transactions. It seems like the company is well managed and the executive compensation, while high, is tied to performance metrics. Looking ahead, Phibro seems to be on a good trajectory, and the focus on retaining talent through equity grants is a smart move. The key risk to watch would be how concentrated power remains, and if there are any future governance challenges as a result. Alright, that is our breakdown of Phibro Animal Health Corporation S proxy statement. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives like this, and remember to join our Discord community linked in the description for more exclusive insights. Thanks for watching, see you next time.